Okay, you're recording?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, I would like to have it at a full screen. Right. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to my personal journey on developing a critical reflection practice. Thank you so much for joining and being interested in this personal journey or experience. Of course, you can have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea at your fancy, no problem. I will have my glass of water. Then I have planned for this webinar 4 main moments. The first one is setting the tone. So the second one, the need for sharing this personal experience. The third, my levels of enunciation, our personal journey tale, and what has been modified or has been changed in my pedagogical practice. Well, to set the tone, I would like to ask you the following question. Why do you think I have chosen the orange color for my PowerPoint template and my personal outfit? Just a good guessing, any ideas? Please don't be shy. Activate your microphones and participate. Why do you think I have chosen this color in particular for the template and for my personal outfit? Let's see. Okay, Lida, please. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, dear teacher. I was your puppet.
Okay, but let me see you. Come
Oh,
on.
teacher.
Why
I'm
not?
at home.
I'm at home too. I am at home too. Okay. Oh, nice to see you again. Hello, dear. Good to see you again. Okay, your answer. Why do you think
Okay,
I'm
teacher.
using wearing this color most?
It's an appealing color. It's related. It's not just the stimulus. It's not just visual. It's also like a taste. So this color appeals a lot of my
Well,
stimulus.
That's right. It is an stimulating color. Okay. It is warm. And what else can we say? I cannot see Adrianita. Could you help me with the people if they want to?
Sure, I am
To
here
say-
checking if somebody raises their hand, but you can just open the
Please,
microphone,
don't
or
be
you
shy.
can also
Who else would like
participate in the
to-
chat.
Thank you. Why?
So anybody else? I would say probably because orange is it's a seasonal color of change, like autumn, fall.
Oh, lovely. Yes, that's right. That's correct. According to the color theory, the orange color is very frequently related to or associated with creativity, enthusiasm, warmth, as Lida was saying. And of course, in this presentation, the orange color stands for transformation of change, as America has said. Okay? Transformation or change. That's why you're going to see this color along the presentation. Thank you.
Ana Gabriela says also that it stimulates senses, and Cristina
Okay.
says that it makes you feel fresh.
Right, lovely. Yes, that idea, that idea. Now, let's continue. Thank you. Thank you for your answers. Now, let's continue with our second moment, which is the need for sharing this personal journey.
¿Quién se va para el pueblo? ¿Usted?
Sí. Can you hear me now or not?
Yes.
Okay, then let's continue with the second moment. So then what I would like to say is that, as you all may know, there is a sense of purpose, or there is an objective when we share our lived experiences, our values, our dreams, our, let's say, difficult moments, our perceptions. So I would like to know if you can guess the two aspects involved in the sense of purpose for sharing or narrating our experiences. Any ideas? Let's see who would like to volunteer and then say which are those two aspects involved in the sense of purpose?
Okay, can you repeat the question so everybody is like
Okay,
fully
there
aware
are two
that we are
aspects. There are two aspects or two elements that are entailed or involved in this sense of purpose. So then for sharing or for telling or narrating what we have lived throughout our lives, either academic, professional, or whatever. So which are those two aspects? Why is it that we tell? What is the reason of telling, narrating, informing others? Letting others know what we have done.
I see many familiar faces in the chat, and
Okay.
let's see who would like to volunteer. What is the sense of purpose of telling and narrating our stories? What do you teachers think?
Don't be shy, please.
Don't be shy.
Please remember, this is not a quiz, okay? This is just saying what we think.
Luis Alberto open his microphone. Luis Alberto, you want to share with us? Oh, he closed it. We have many, many familiar faces. Come on. Who wants to
Okay.
share? Why do we share?
Reasons.
Why do we narrate? Why do we tell our stories? Okay, Joanna says through the chat, it's about connection,
Okay, connecting, okay.
connecting with
Others or with
others.
others, perfect, yes. And that's right.
May
Another
I jump
idea.
in?
Yes,
Please go
please.
ahead.
Well, through narrations, we unveil our identities, we unveil our histories, our stories, the things we've been through, and that somehow unveils who we are, our expectations, etc.
Very good, thank you for your answer. I really like that word unveiled, uncovered, revealed, which is nice, okay? Our, yes, self-identity, our own perceptions, our own feelings and emotions, and that is important for us educators and teachers. Well, thank you very much. So then, the first one is people, we have our voice heard. So I have my voice heard when I narrate my experiences and stories. And the second one is because in this case, in this study, I had the opportunity to transit from being an outsider to an insider. Usually when we researchers conduct research, we gather the information, invite the people to participate, gather or collect the information, systematize the information, analyze the information, but we are observing. Even if we are participant observers in the class, we are observing, so we are outsiders. Here in this study, I become an insider. Thank you for the answer. And the second aspect, the second sense is the sense of change, which this webinar is about. So a sense of change or transformation happened through my lived experiences in different roles as a language teacher, as a teacher educator, as a researcher, as a material developer, and it happened through my entire educational process in the pedagogical practice. And of course, all that experience happened within a socio-cultural, geographic, historic, and political context. Because things doesn't happen, okay, in empty vessels. We are in a context. Now, I think pertinent to let you know that this study is a type of study, is a critical ethnography, and it fits into the qualitative method for social research. And as you may know as well, it entails personal, individual experiences, personal, let's say, meanings that we attribute to practices, to communication, to emotions, values, and also insights on self-identity. So it necessarily resorts to the first person tone, positioning thereby or situating thereby the researcher in a given sociocultural, historic, political, and geographic setting. Okay, so then I'm speaking from my own experience in several or larger aspects that we'll see now. So for the third moment, which is my locus of enunciation, from where I speak and what my personal journey entails, I would like to begin by referring to, okay, the place where I was born. So you can see on the screen, I am a Colombian female born in Gigante Huila. Gigante Huila, a tiny little village. I was born in the year 1964. I'm 60 years old now, okay? And I was the spoiled little one in a family of three. So I'm the youngest of all, and I was spoiled indeed. Then I studied primary and secondary school, okay, both public institutions. Primary normal, Escuela Normal Superior Señorita de Gigante at that time. Now it's different, it's mixed. Señorita de Gigante. And secondary school was in Colegio Ismael Perdomo. So then I may say that I attended regular, traditional, banking, primary and secondary education is separate school. At my time, I didn't have preschool. Many of you are very young and you did have preschool. Then, as some of you may know, in this orthodox education, primary and secondary, memorizing was important. It was key to pass all the subjects, verbatim, reproducing what the teacher had said. It was a meaning of being successful in the assessment practice. Afterwards, I moved to Bogota and majored in hotel and tourist business administration from Universidad Externada de Colombia, worked for a period of 5 years in sports and social club in Bogota. Then I got married, traveled to Colchester, England, and there I started to learn English at the tender age of 30 years old. A little bit old to start learning a language, a foreign language. However, I'm still learning. I'm still learning about English, incredible. The entire life doing that. And then I lived there. I studied a diploma in linguistic studies, and I came back to Colombia with the expectation of working as an English teacher in order to avoid language attrition. So when we don't use the language, when we don't practice, then we forget, and that was the idea. Then when I first began to teach English in a private institution in 1998, I was not given any sort of introduction, any sort of orientation about what I was going to do or what I was expected to achieve with my undergraduate students in this private university. So instead of feeling, let's say, lost or thrown in the middle of the jungle, I understood that as, let's say, being free to develop the English syllabus, the program, and even the materials with my undergraduate students. So in my English classes, then I took advantage of my students' academic interests, let's say economics, accountancy, restoration, whatever, law. So then I took advantage of those interests and began to teach using my own materials in both English for general purposes and English for specific purposes. Both, okay, and the second one, named Economics and Business Readings for English 1, 2, 3, and 4. I used to be the teacher of English 4. And the intention was to improve students on the graduate, let's say, English, use of English, and also reading comprehension in economics and business issues. That was the purpose. Then at that time, this situation turned into an opportunity to take advantage, to teach and learn with and from my students. Of course, they enjoyed and made the most of the English classes as they became interested in learning English, using English, and transferring the application of reading strategies or learning strategies to other subject matters at the university level. So let's say that this pedagogical experience for the first time in private university granted me a specialization in international economics from Universidad Externada de Colombia. I should also say that although most of the English teachers in the English program in that institution, sometimes they got irritated or even annoyed with my success, with the success, excuse me, of the EGP and ESP series. Of course, I managed to interact and exchange this pedagogical insight with few colleagues who showed interest in what I was doing. And I was doing that because my students were all the time guiding me in what they really wanted to learn and in the way they wanted to learn. And that is important, to consider student voices. So then this, let's say, for and against situation made me stronger. Although many other English teachers wanted to, let's say, to make me feel sad perhaps, the opposite happened. So as I realized that meeting students' academic and affective needs and expectations resulting in highly motivated students and very good learning results or outcomes. It was great for me. Then after 7 years of doing so, in the year 2005, I started to work for the first time again as a teacher educator in a specialization program in bilingual education. It was such a great opportunity to know teachers. I must confess, because what I'm doing here, narrating my experience, is a confession. So I must confess here that I was afraid of English teachers, of teaching English teachers, because teachers are not easy. We are complex anyway. So then I was afraid, but again, I quite managed to encourage those students and those English teachers that were students to encourage them to consider their student language learning and affective needs and to become creators of their own language teaching materials. And that was something that motivated them greatly. And also to explore a variety of language teaching approaches, not only, let's say, like to be eclectic at that time. So I resort to those, let's say, those aspects in order to motivate English teachers let's say, to meet the needs of the pedagogical settings, of the pedagogical context. Also, in this specialization program, there you have the photograph of the first group I had. The lady in the middle that is wearing an orange jumper, remember, she came from Bucaramanga.
Ahí está Andrea. A ver.
From Bucaramanga, and I remember quite vividly that she said, "Teacher, I come to Bogota, highly motivated for your class. This is the class I like the most, and we had lovely time in those classes." Then, indeed, I still have vivid memories of that experience with service teachers who were deeply concerned and worried because their students didn't show interest in learning English. So my immediate response to them was to question if they have asked their students what they wanted to learn and in what way they wanted to learn. And most of them said that they have to follow the curriculum of the program that the coordinator had established. So then they were not free to propose. Then I also told them my story. At that moment, I strongly held to my belief. I don't know if you can see there. I strongly held to my belief on the importance of learning in general while enjoying. I don't believe in learning while suffering. I don't believe in learning while being anxious. I can't stand learning while being threatened with the marks or with the grades. I think that we should learn because we love doing something and because we like learning a foreign language to talk our own experiences, in particular those complex experiences that we face in our pedagogical settings. So then I have to say that at that time, with this book that we wrote with other 3 colleagues, we started to have our voices heard regarding creating non-threatening atmospheres or environment for students and asking them about what they would like to learn. Then, what happened despite these efforts? Well, I have to say that despite addressing everyday life, English for general purposes, and English for specific ones, as like economics and business, we replicated superficial view of local and foreign cultures and canonical of the established knowledge. And the problem that I can see now is that hinders the development of high order thinking skills, and it somehow deters questioning, reflecting, discussing, analyzing, and recreating complex realities. Of course, also prevents students and teachers from being able to transform their own cultural worlds. And please pay attention, prevents both students and teachers from becoming remakers or transformers of the world. When we replicate, when we naturalize, and we legitimize what has been done by others without considering our own realities and our own situations. Then now, I moved to the end of the year 2006. A friend and colleague of mine persuaded me to do a master's in education with emphasis on human development and values. Then there I continue learning about all those aspects that you can see in the slides: pedagogy, models, educational policy, curricula, research, assessment, practices, from a rather conservative and acknowledged perspective. Was very conservative. So learning what others have envisioned for us, and we were the recipients to repeat. So then, during this period of my academic production, during this, I began to teach at that time in 2008, finishing the master's program. I was invited to teach in the emphasis of English didactics, language teaching methodologies, materials development, and research in the master's program, particularly in that emphasis, where I have met Adrianita and many others that have joined us today. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to learn and grow with you. Then, after that, you can see that my experience during this period, my academic production comprised several reflective articles that were published in House Journal, Profile, Apprentice Tablet, and the Taiwan Profile. But all of them were reflective articles on that practice of creating materials, modifying the curriculum, and proposing something from their own context, although replicating language teaching approaches and methodologies. Now, in the year 2010, I had the opportunity to be selected to represent Colombia in this enriching multicultural learning experience. The course was named the Advanced International Training Program on Child Rights, Learning, and School Management in the university. What did it do? Was to, let's say, teach us to consider, okay, the rights of the children in our government and also in the school, to help them talk and work within that context. And it was a very interesting experience. Let's say that there I had the opportunity to share and to talk with people from Asia, from Africa, and from Latin American countries. And it was fantastic. I would say, a wonderful opportunity to see diversity in all aspects. And I also had the chance to visit schools in China, and in Sweden, in Stockholm, and in Denmark. But what was more interesting for me was to see in China, and in Mongolia in particular, the teachers had 60 students, 60, not 40, not 48, 60. But there is another culture. And the students were sitting there, paying attention, ready to learn. Quite different from our context. That is culture. So I really enjoyed that experience. Then, as a teacher, educator, let's say that and as a researcher, of course, I became aware of understanding, let's say, English language teaching from a more critical and reflective perspective. And then I began getting interested in what others researchers and scholars had studied and published in relation to contextualize EFL curriculum materials and language teaching methodologies. As you can see on the screen, I wanted to learn from those studies and see if they could contribute to my critical understanding of English language teaching, and especially in curriculum and materials. Up to the moment, 2000, let's say 12 and 16 perhaps, I have mainly conducted qualitative research, action research, and descriptive case studies. So there we have the articles and chapters and the recent books published with other, in-service teachers that were attending or doing the master's program. It was a privilege. So we have the last one there, self-development, reconstructing teacher beliefs, or mainstream ways of developing EFL materials that is being reviewed by the blind, evaluators and blind reviewers. Now, I'm going to tell you about what happened in 2014. In the year 2014, I made the decision of doing a doctoral program in education sciences at the Universidad Pedagógica y Tecnológica de Tunja. So where I did struggle, and I think it was very hard to identify a gap to see what to continue exploring regarding materials, because at that time I had, let's say, an instrumental perception of the materials. So then, and critical intellectuality, which was the first learning the choice. Then it seemed that everything I had learned and done on research was useless at that moment. So reading about the case studies at local, regional, and international level, and seeing what to do that was new and that could contribute to the field of the study of material development. But anyway, in that, let's say, in that doctoral program, I had the opportunity to grow as a person, to grow as a teacher educator, and researcher. I'm going to read from my narrative what happened from the year 2015 onwards. So you can see I have used the orange color and underlined the aspect that I consider most relevant. It says, for the first time in my professional life, I admitted that in spite of my attempts to innovate in education, I continue reproducing, maintaining, naturalizing, and even legitimizing dominant cultures and knowledge that are supported by supranational educational policies in Colombia. Of course, I have to read critical researchers that you can see on the screen: Ana Garaya, Castro Gómez, Andrés Forward, Dussel, Freire, Giroux, Granado, Beltrán, Kumara, Mantana, Torres, Mignolo, Philipson, Felipe Quijano, Walsh, among many others, who had elaborated on the implication of linguistic imperialism and colonization of ELT education. So it was like discovering a new world to really understand what I had done and what I was expected to do. Okay, I admitted, I recognized that several critical and reflective research formation seminars that I attended in the doctoral program changed my understanding and positioning in ELT research. So I started to look at ELT, to look at materials from a different perspective. So then I started to make visible other, ontological, epistemological, and power realities related to ELT teachers and students within those rural home, school, and community contexts, to see the school not as an isolated institution, but within that community, and those students that come with what they have received at home. So then integrating everything. So then, armed, let's say, with this critical understanding of what ELT implied, and the forces that control it, I started to carry out okay, qualitative documentary research, aiming at revealing the colonial criteria inspired in the colonial time and grounded in critical interculturality. To inform the development of materials created by teachers, generated and produced by teachers, okay, from the voices of teachers, authors, and experts. Then I managed to understand critical interculturality as a decolonial discourse that emerged to give everyone equal opportunities and rights, without discriminating on any basis, such as the ethnic origin, social class, age, gender, identity, sexual orientation, capacity, religious belief, and many more. And that was central to question my vision of culture, my understanding of the curricular materials, teaching approaches and methods, teaching beliefs, pedagogical and assessment practices, bilingual education policy, and even my identity as a teacher, educator, material developer, and researcher. So I realized, although developing materials for my classes, in many of the, and I try to contextualize certain activities, that in general, okay, I was perpetuating a superficial vision of culture. So there you can see that within the doctoral studies, I finally could problematize, okay, this is concern, and publish. I did a revision, but also published in GIST. Then I have in Papeles a related article to how journal I published the same of the problem. And in this book on interculturality, I have a chapter regarding the theoretical foundations and the final result of the study. So then it was quite an effort, but it was very interesting and valuable, because from there onwards, I started to see ELT materials and everything that is included there from a rather, let's say, different perspective, more sociocultural, political perspective. Other sections of my narrative say, in this way, I have had my voice heard. Where? In these events. Events like this one, this webinar, events like the national conference or international seminar symposiums, so academic events, in published papers, articles, chapters, books that disseminate our research endeavors, which truly portray the academic and professional path I have walked on top. Especially moving from an instrumental, mechanical, and colonized perception of ELT education to a more social, political, critical, and informed one, especially regarding teacher beliefs and research competencies and practices, English curriculum and materials, as well as pedagogical and assessment practices and language policy. So to understand that everything that has to do with ELT should be discussed, should be conceived, and should be generated and produced from our own cultural logics. Then, all in all, both in service teachers in the SMA program, that was Masters in Education with emphasis on English didactics, and myself have reflected, interrogated, questioned, deconstructed and reconstructed our identities of resistance and agency by resorting to the statement disobedience. So then I remember quite vividly saying to my students, what is the mood in this seminar? The mood is disobedience. The mood is generated our own pertinent local knowledge. And it has to do, it definitely applies to our school curriculum, official textbooks, and then language policy. And unfortunately, our language policy is associated, okay, or associates the English textbooks in particular, to work, to productivity, to competitiveness, to individualism, exploitation, globalization, consumerism, and neoliberal values. And we should relate English to have that privilege of talking about our own, okay, deep and profound experiences, the ones that really concern us, that are, let's say, related to our own lives. Here I continue with this one. I have come to learn that critical oceanography that I want to conduct, because this is just the beginning of the study, is the personal exploration of transformations occurred that happen to critical research formation. So as I see, to me, the critical research seminars that I attended were the ones that helped me understand, deeply understand what the ELT entails, and specifically, the materials and curriculum. Specifically, how it happens from one point to another and realize some changes that I have made or that I should do as part of my pedagogical practice in the best interest of the in-service teachers that I taught. I say that taught because now I am retired, as you know. All that has been built through the complex world of, all this has been built through the complex world of critical analysis and development of EFL materials. Since the English coursebook, unfortunately, the official one, the standardized one, okay, is permeated and controlled by cultural, epistemological, and political forces that makes it generic, decontextualized, colonized, and meaningful in our local context. I have also realized that discourse and action, because one thing is to reflect, realize that we have a mechanical instrumental vision of teaching and learning English, and the other thing is starting to do something. It is good to criticize, but the most important part besides criticizing is able to propose something. Then discourse and action. I need to do something. They are rooted in complex contextual realities, or should be rooted better, contextual realities that are constructed, deconstructed, and reconstructed through constant social struggle for autonomy and transformation, for real emancipation, and hope in a better future. So we teach our students to think critically, to be independent thinkers, to analyze, and to be able to transform their own harsh and complex realities, they could have a better life project and a better life in the future. I have also the need to share with you what Adrianita mentioned in her presentation at the beginning, that I was recognized with the Clara de Silva Award that is granted by our Associación Colombiana de Profesores de Inglés. And it was a very happy moment, because they acknowledged my professional development, my research work, and contribution to the teaching and learning of English in my country. I was also recognized, as Adrianita mentioned, as a mujer pionera for the understanding of the EFL material from a critical economic stand. I also have many educators, scholars, and researchers that disagree with me, and that's valid. This is just the way I understand them, the way I see them. Many other people could think that EFL generic standardized official books are great, are excellent. That's okay for them. But from my perception, okay, they should be the standardized ones, and teachers should be, and students, the ones who produce them. Now, regarding the preliminary finding, what I can see, let's say, in a very preliminary form, up to the moment, is that critical research formation of education has changed my understanding and self-positioning of ELT research, especially because it has made visible other ontological, epistemological, and power realities that are related to teachers, students in the rural, urban, home, and community context. Remember that those contexts are very important. We don't use a language in an empty vessel, but within a context. And the second main finding I can foresee, just at this stage of the study, is that my critical awareness discourse as a teacher educator and my agency in suit pedagogical practices otherwise, and of course, materials otherwise, and the construction of knowledge otherwise, as a content hegemonic action or effort. Let's say that as I am able to reflect, question, okay, deconstruct and reconstruct, those are actions and efforts that count in order to stop being reproducers and consumers and start being producers, okay, and generators of our language teaching pedagogies, language teaching materials, EFL curricula, and language policy. Let's say we need to appropriate all those aspects involved in ELT. So then these are the reference, some of the references. I thank you very much for the time. I don't know if we have time for questions. Yes, we have time for questions. Or you want to, let's say, argue, no?
We do have time for questions. And
Okay,
actually, it gives our attendees some time for completing the form in case that they want to get one of the Twinkle free passes. Edgar Lucero, who's the editor of our How Journal, says, "Dear Astrid, it's always a pleasure listening to you. I have a question. Acknowledging your remarkable career and contributions in Colombia ELT, please tell us two premises in education of pre-service
excuse me,
teachers.
Adrianita, excuse me, please tell us, can you say that again?
Please tell us two premises in the education of pre-service teachers that we, educators of pre-service teachers, should consider."
Okay, well, thank you, Edgar, for your question and for your kind words and encouraging words. Okay, regarding your concern, your question, I would say that two premises could be one, language educators or teacher educators should teach or should educate future teachers in diversity. Teach them about diversity, respect for diversity. If we are respectful, we respect diversity, we could live a peaceful life. So let's say that in our context, it is very common to, let's say, make the other that is different, that thinks different, that looks different, and then to start like a battle. And then we don't upset them, or we discriminate them, or we disregard their opinions, or they were being their perception, they were feeling, they were acting, they were learning, relearning, doing. So let's say that we all are different, and that means richness. So we need to educate them on the basis of critical interculturality in order to respect diversity. And for that, we have Dr. Carlos Granado Beltrán, criteria for educating on the basis of critical interculturality. And second, we should also educate our future teachers on, let's say, a decolonial perspective or on a perspective based on critical interculturality and the decolonial time to promote other ways of thinking, other ways of elaborating or constructing knowledge. So particularly for materials, I recommend, of course, my decolonial criteria grounded on critical interculturality and the decolonial time to develop materials. So far, I have found other article that was produced by a foreign scholar on developing material based on critical pedagogies. And critical pedagogies is one of one criterion in my proposal. And that criterion says that teachers are expected to generate and propose their own language teaching pedagogy. So this is time for us to excel. This is time for us to produce. This is time for us to feel proud of what we have. Local knowledge.
I think that's a big insight, Astrid, because in here, anytime that we think about decolonial or we think about critical perspective, we're always looking for others. And what you're saying is, yeah, if we want to teach our pre-service teachers and even our postgraduate teachers, we need to see what's been happening in our context. Carlos Granados is a great example, right? Frankfurt Assessment, we have you for materials development. I'm like, we have so many reference here in the country.
In Colombia. Yes.
We have another question, Astrid.
Okay, thank you.
And Mari Ramirez says, thank you, Astrid, for inspiring all of us with the life and process, LT life and process. My question is about the last finding when you mentioned counter-hegemonic. What do you mean by that? Okay,
thank you. Thank you, Mari.
Yes.
Mari. Thank you, Mari. When I say counter-hegemonic is the following. We teachers, and you teachers, because as I told you, I became a teacher with my students, okay? But you had, let's say, pedagogical formation. Then In all those courses at undergraduate level, teachers are educated to replicate and to, let's say, verbatim language teaching methodologies used in post curricula and then used in post materials. So then, and the policy, unfortunately, is also permeated by foreign, visions of education. So then, when you don't think, when there is not a space for thinking and proposing, but only to be obedient and then doing what the law says or doing what the coordinator says or the principal of the school says or the, let's say, dean of the school or whatever field of study says. Well, we become, let's say, mechanical reproducers or technicians, as Giro says, so that don't think. It is like denying that we can think and produce. So this is time for us to say, no, just a moment. If you say me that this is the syllabus, let me see the content you want me to teach. Is that content pertinent to this pedagogical context in the north, in the south of Bogota, or in whatever, city or town in Colombia? Is it pertinent? Are these the realities my students are facing and living and struggling or going through? Second, is this language teaching methodology, for example, the basic learning rights and the suggested curriculum? It's a suggested curriculum by the government, but it is actually imposed, so you have to follow it. So then, you need, as a teacher, you need to read and see the curriculum is really, relevant and meaningful for your students and for you in your own community where school is located. So then there is what? Realizing and then questioning. Then when you question and then you receive, the answer, then you could decide if that is good or not. Once you realize that, perhaps the answer is that it is not useful, it is dull and boring, or it doesn't apply here, then you need to start to say, okay, I need to be informed and you start producing. When you produce, when you generate and you start consuming, and then and you act that you are resisting the imposition. You are resisting hegemony in English language teaching. When you also build the curriculum with the group of teachers in the school, listening to the student voices and considering what you deem relevant and pertinent in that pedagogical context, there you're generating local knowledge, which is valid too. Then counter means that you resist being a consumer, and being obedient, and you become reflective, critical, and then an agent, a subject of change. I prefer the word subject, because we as individuals and we as teachers, we are cultural subjects, we are critical subjects, and we are remakers of the world. So we're able to transform our life and also to help others transform their lives. Our students in primary and secondary schools, they didn't come to this world to suffer their entire life. Perhaps you remember el estallido social. So young people got sick and tired of being miserable, without job, without help, without education, without anything. So they have nothing to lose. That's why they went out to the streets, to raise their voices. So that is also a counter-hegemonic action, going and having
I
your
have
voice
some other
heard.
comments in the chat.
Okay.
And I don't know if we're going to have enough time, and remember that we need the last 2 minutes for housekeeping.
All right.
So
Yes.
it says, Hans says, thank you, dearest Professor Astrid. Listening to you now is as inspiring as the first time in my master's. Greetings from Florencia. Thanks for being my advisor again. Hans, totally
Thank
agree.
you, Hans. Thank you, Hans.
Totally agree. Herman Dario says, it's been amazing education and a personal journey full of love and dedication. Eduardo Prieto says, good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank Astrid for her presentation. I have a comment with a question. You talk about our identities of resistance and epistemic disobedience, and which ways those resistant patterns and epistemic disobedience is seen or can be manifested. I think that is very related to the previous question. And what are the manifestation of these identities resistant and epistemic disobedience? I will read the others while you can elaborate one answer.
Okay,
Catalina.
the second one. Okay,
Catalina,
another one, read the other.
Catalina says, thank you. It's very important to promote ecological knowledge inside and outside our classrooms. Jonathan says, thank you. You are a true inspiration to all of us. And Mary Ramirez, thanks for clarifying. And you're right. We are given the syllables because we can transform it for our students' reality. We can be subjects of change. So Astrid, I am going to ask you to please close like in a couple of minutes. And this we are always here to listen to you, and I am going to invite everybody to follow Professor Núñez in social media because she is in many events. I do not miss any, so probably we will meet around. It's always inspirational to hear you.
Thank you,
So
Anita. Thank you very much for all of you, okay, for joining. So then, how is it seen? Let's say epistemic disobedience, okay, and the resistance. Many coordinators don't like it, of course, because then you make noise, and then because you criticize. But when you first mention what is good, because there is something good, positive in the school of the program as well. And then you say, however, I have some comments to make for your consideration. And then when you're respectful to suggest the change, and when you give reasons and you inform it from serious and critical theory, I guess you persuade, okay, the coordinator or the boss or whatever the dean of the change. So they start to see, okay, there are reasons behind your suggestion or your comment or your criticism. And then how can we manifest it? With the articles, with the books, with the participation in the events, when you go to march and protest and ask what we deserve in this country. And I'm not denying the possibility of interacting with other realities in the world. Yes, but first us. And then we compare with other realities in the world, but not necessarily with the United States or with the United Kingdom or with Canada or with Australia. The world is bigger, and there is such a variety of countries where realities happen, and we can learn from other countries as well. Then let's have us English teachers as what? Agents of transformation, okay, and remakers of the world, as Freire says. Thank you very much for being here.
We have some questions. Well, Aldemar says, thank you. I'm very proud of Aldemar Puentes of their achievements and honored by their friendship. And Julia Jesus says, thank you very much. Meaningful learning. Esther has another, it's an important question, but I would invite Esther to contact you through your Instagram, maybe in a direct message. It's a question that many teachers have, and maybe we could take this conversation further. And it's how we can decolonialize English teaching, taking into account that it itself involves colonialism. And we personalize, taking into account our students' interests and context could help do it. We must adapt the syllabus to our reality needs, hopes, and possibilities. And she says, what do you think?
Yes, okay. Well, I invite her to also to read, okay, our publications, our articles, chapters. Did you perhaps I can write here through the chat, Adrianita, just a second. I can give my email.
I already sent the link. I sent the link to your Instagram.
All right.
All right.
I'm not very good using Instagram, but perhaps to the email or to WhatsApp as well.
Excellent. Yeah. Why don't you? We can write your mail in our chat.
Please. Okay. And that would be nice if they are interested. Norita, thank you for being there. Matika,
which one should we share in the chat?
Thank you very much. Very kind of you being here. Yes,
Astrid, which email should we share in if Claudia or Katie could please help me type in
Astrid.Nunes, Astrid, finishing in D, Nunes at externado.edu.co.
All right.
That's the only email I have ever had. The only one.
All right. So the time has come, friends, to tell you a couple of very important things. And it's first of all, mark your calendars. Because in May, that is Teachers Month in Colombia, you know. So on May 15, we are going to have a very special informative talk with Dallas University. So in which Blanca and Paola will come and tell us some things about very interesting opportunities that we would have for all our ELT community. I think it applies not only for Colombia, but for many other teachers around, because I know that we have teachers joining us from different parts in this moment. And remember that there is always a special discount for ASOCOPI members. That is going to happen as a teacher's day gift on May the 15th. In our next webinar, we are very proud to announce that our new member of the board of directors, our alternate member, Jonathan Vasquez Guarnizo, is going to have the next webinar. He's taking the webinars to a different level. Jonathan is a professor at Universidad Pedagógica y Tecnológica de Tunja, recently received an award at Universidad del Amazonas, Universidad de la Amazonía, where he got his undergraduate. And we're very proud to say that he's now part of the board of directors, and he has volunteered to be our next webinar presenter. This year we have had February, we started with Hugo and Google. March, we had Alisa with the Teacher's Handbook. Today, we had Astrid with this very insightful and powerful journey. And last but not least, we will be with Jonathan. So remember also to join us in Barranquilla. And now it is time for our Twinkle raffle. I closed 5 minutes ago the form, so it's very like for everybody who were here in time. And you are seeing now in my screen, you are seeing the form. Yep, you are seeing the form. Here it is. So I am going to use the names that you have here. I'm going to put them in a spin wheel, and if you are here, you win. So the first thing to know is the wheel of names. Remember to visit our social media. Here you are. So let's see what happens. Astrid, first winner is, let's see, who gets lucky today because of you.
Okay.
First winner for a free 6-month pass on Twinkle is Eli Osorio Sanchez. Over there, friends, please. Eli Osorio Sanchez. That's our first winner. Is Eli here? Eli, you need to say hello. We need to make sure that you're in the room.
Hello, I'm here.
Eli, congratulations. And
Thank you very much.
we will contact you with information that you left in the form. And our second winner is from the house, Hans Oviedo. Hans, are you here?
Of course, I'm here.
We are always here.
I'm always here. Thank you.
Very good. So Hans and Elise, we are very glad that you received these 2 free passes for Twinkle and that you enjoy them for 6 months. And we are sure that your students are going to make the best out of it. Remember, Claire de Silva nomination. Remember How Journal special issue. Remember, we'll see you in Barranquilla. Thank you very much for joining us today. It was amazing to have you here. It is always nice to have you, Astrid, and that you are part of us, and we can keep growing with you and keep learning. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
That's in
Thank
our
you for
social
having me.
media, ASOCOPI Oficial. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. See you. Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, Rita. Bye. Thank
Bye,
you,
Astrid.
everyone.
See you.
Bye. Take care.